G'day, Ben from Melbourne here, and I'm going to do a contest today for Beatle Dustino's 1 and 7 push to 700 subs. Sure, he's well over that now. And this might even be out of date. Not sure. I'm just been playing catch up ever since I had the dreaded Rona a few weeks back, and man, you dudes all pumped out some videos while I was convalescing. Anyway, seen a few people do this and went back and checked out the original video, thought that might be fun. Can I Australianize it? Yes, I can. 7 questions plus 1. Well, the 1 isn't really a question, it's just a shout out to other channels who you would like to see do this. So I'll do that first. My first shout out is to the first David and last Freeman, one of my mates from New South Wales. I'm sure he would smash this and you would learn a lesson that you didn't even know you needed to learn off the great man. Next, Mike Carlson, a guy who masquerades around as Steve Carlson. That would be interesting. Very, very. Especially if Furry Mike the cat gets involved and offers some opinions as well. Me and Furry Mike actually probably share more in common than Hairless Mike. And last of all, hasn't been pumping out as many lately, but I love it when he does, and that's Pilton. Yes. Come on, mate. Love to see you do this. Anyway, let's get into the 7 questions before we all die of old age. First one is the album that got you into music. I would have to say one of my earliest memories of Australian music is ACDC's TNT. Seemed like my uncle, my cousin, the neighbour over the road had it. And of course, when you're like 4 or 5 years old and you hear, "Oi! Oi! Oi!" How can you not love that? And singing a lot, having people older than me laugh when I wholeheartedly got into the jack, having no idea what that meant. I just thought it was about cards, took it literally. But this has got some cracking songs. Of course, it's a long way to the top. That original clip where they're going down Swanson Street back in the day, that's just magnificent, on the back of a semi-trailer with a few bagpipe players. Magnificent stuff. Rock and roll singer. Love it. Love it when Bond says, "Yes, I are," and intentionally is grammatically wrong. Just so good. Every song. Livewire. Killer. Rocker. Can I Sit Next to You Girl, which was the first singer of ACDC. What was his bloody name? I want to say Dave Evans. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, when ACDC were decidedly a lot more glam looking back then. Sure, you can find it on YouTube. High Voltage, of course, and one of the only covers they ever did, which is Chuck Berry's School Days, and they do a killer version. Anyway, that would probably be the one that I remember earliest of Australian stuff that I like. Album that got you into your favourite group. Well, I'd have to say it's this one. But, what is your favourite group? I have no idea how to answer that question. So I just went, who have I got a lot of records of, who I love? And it's Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Not so much that it was this album, it was this tour. Cannot remember. I knew of Nick Cave. Liked what I'd heard, never owned anything, went and saw him play, blew my head off, have seen him play every tour since, and this was my in. Great record at the time, Papa Won't Leave You Henry, I Had a Dream, Joe, Straight Like Jack the Ripper, stuff like that, really love. But then as I've got, I like the slow ones like Loom of the Land and Straight to You. Great record. Apparently they hate it, but I think it was more the experience with David Briggs they didn't dig so much. Next, an album that got you back into music. I was never not in music, but I think there was a period of just so I was a late teenager, and before I moved to Melbourne, I was still living in the country, and you know, the only Australian bands I really knew were the big ones. And then moved to Melbourne, discovered this whole scene, and you just couldn't avoid this record. And this is what made me really appreciate Australian music. UMI's debut album. It's probably more the EPs that came before this, which unfortunately I don't own, but you just hear them on Triple R all the time. Great stuff. Their first 3 records are fantastic, just great indie rock. Unfortunately, Tim Rogers has turned into a bit of a wanker, but whatever. If you've made 3 great records like their first 3, you can do whatever you want, I suppose. But yeah, Berlin Chair, that was everywhere. Adam's Ribs, Forever and Easy. Yeah, it was probably that, wow, there's this whole other world of great Australian music that opened the door. Next question is, a box set that blew you away. Well, I would have to say this box set blew me away. The Go-Betweens, G for Go-Betweens. And I knew the content already, and it comes with some nice bells and whistles, and it sounds fantastic, and it's got a book and all that, which a lot of them have. But the bit that blew me away, must have been, I never get this stuff because I'm never early enough, but on this one occasion I was. The first however many that you ordered was sent with a book. This may not look that special, but this book was once owned by the great Grant McClellan. Him and Robert Forster, the songwriters for the Go-Betweens. So just knowing that the man poured this book, the man that wrote all those fantastic songs just for Cattle and Cane itself, to know he fingered this book and now I can rub it on my body. Oh, sorry, I forgot that the camera was on then. Yeah, amazing that I own a book which was once owned by Grant McClellan. Would prefer to not own the book and he still be alive, but you take what you can get. Next, album by an artist that is underrated. Now, I bang on about him a lot, and you'll be all like, groan. But the third Saints album, I don't think it gets the love of the first 2. It's a fantastic record, but you can kind of hear both Ed Cooper and Chris Bailey, the pulling in different directions, but it's kind of what makes this good, and it just is intriguing of where they would have went next. Apparently that Aints record, when they reformed with a new lineup, Ed was saying that a lot of the songs on that were stuff which was going to be the follow-up for this, and if that was the case, fantastic. But obviously that's Ed's vision, and you throw Chris Bailey on top of that and you get another thing. But this is a great record, Prehistoric Sounds. You got to have the first 3. You just got to. All right. Album that was gifted to you that impressed you. Well, I was probably about 4, so they could have given me anything and impressed me. But my uncle gave me Skyhooks, Living in the 70s. Yes, as a 4-year-old, I was singing You Just Like Me Because I'm Good in Bed and all those great things. But this also could have been for the question that was the album that got you into Australian music. And little did I know when I was up there in Swan Hill as a kid, listening to this album, that I'd moved down here, and a lot of the references on this were all about areas in Melbourne and very local, and yeah, fantastic record. Like, not just for the subject matter, but just a good rock record. I guess you could call Skyhooks were our equivalent of the glam movement, but these guys were head and shoulders above the rest. These are really well written songs, well produced record. Ross the Boss Wilson from Daddy Cool produced this. Yeah, wonderful band. Kind of not as appreciated as I think they should be. And we up to the last one? Yes, a live album by an artist you've seen the most. Well, it would have been Nick Cave, but I've already shown a Nick Cave record, so I'm going to say The Gears, who I have seen a lot of times, and they're always freaking good. Got a little pre-order I'm waiting on of a live show of The Gears, just to, whet your appetite. Coming up in a future video once it comes in. Anyway, that's everything. I'll leave everybody's details below. See you next time, dudes.